Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Prashant. Yeah, so he was against revolutions because he said the good life will get uh, destabilized. And therefore, he talked about the common good. He said if there is a common good, then basically people will all benefit, and therefore there'll be no necessity for uh, revolutions. Okay, but in Osmania University, there is this unfortunate thing where people talk about a class. Middle classes didn't exist in Aristotle's time, so I put it as middle segment. But if you want, you can talk about it as middle class. Uh, this is a misunderstanding of the common good. Okay, the common good that Aristotle talked about said people will be right in the center of things. There'll be no extremes. Okay, not very badly off people, some people who are in possession of all good things. So he said that kind of imbalance, when you have two extremes, that can cause revolutions, especially by those who don't have access to things. So he talked about the good life, or a good common good. When you promote that, then it sees a consolidation of the population in the center of the polis. And that is a protection against revolutions. That is as far as Aristotle is concerned. I thought I'll just make that point since I didn't make it the last time. We will now talk about St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas, his philosophy is called Thomism. Now, please don't, we in India say Thomas, and this is called Thomism. But the actual pronunciation of that name is Thomas. It's Tomas. That's how they would pronounce it. Okay, and uh, St. Thomas Aquinas' philosophy is called Thomism. It has the influences of uh, Greek thinkers like Plato, but specifically Aristotle. Much of it is Aristotle, and also early Christian thinkers such as Saint Augustine. Okay, Plato was also an influence on the early Christian thinkers uh, because of the fact that there was this Plotinus, Plotinus. Plotinus was somebody who thought, that since Plato is prescriptive, when he says you shouldn't do certain things and you should do certain things, they found him to be suitable to the edicts, edicts, or the what we call rules passed by the church. Okay, because the church also talked about do's and don'ts. And since Plato had a list of do's and don'ts, Neoplatonism was that school of uh, uh, Christian thinkers who believed that uh, you should have do's and don'ts in society. And St. Augustine is one of the earliest Christian thinkers and writers. He wrote a book which was called the Civitas Dei, Civitas, Civitas Dei, Dei. Dei is God, and Civitas is roughly translated into city. So Civitas Dei meant city of God. He wrote this book, and for him, the whole world was the city of God. And the monarch of this particular world, as far as Augustine is concerned, was uh, uh, was God himself. Okay, and the church was the representation of God on earth, and therefore he wanted the church to have all authority. Uh, St. Thomas Aquinas was mainly influenced by the methodology that was used by Aristotle in order to gain knowledge, and therefore he had this sobriquet. A sobriquet is some kind of you know uh, name given to somebody. Uh, he's got the sobriquet of Christianized Aristotle. He's seen as his philosophy, the methodology of his philosophy, basically shares a lot of things with Aristotle. But Aristotle did not apply it to any religious uh, content, content, but uh, Aquinas applied it to religious content, and therefore he's called Christianized Aristotle. His works are categorized as summae. Summae is some kind of a compilation. Okay. And in the singular, it is called summa. Okay. Uh, this is Latin, and he has a few summes against his name. Uh, the work that is of relevance to us is the Summa Contra Gentile. It's pronounced Gentile, not Gentile. Though in English people do say Jew and Gentile. Okay, it is contra, as you can see, is against. Gentile is he was trying to preach some kind of equality, and the Gentile were considered to be the upper crust. He was going by the Christian principle of equality, which is all are equal in the eyes of God. Okay, all are equal in the eyes of God. And if you suffer in this world, which is a transitory world, okay, that's why we die. Here we don't have eternal life. Eternal life is for the Christians in heaven, also called paradise, right? So he was uh, against the idea of enjoying the pleasures of life here. He was for leading a devotional life uh, in this world, and after death, if you lived a good life, a virtuous life, and a virtuous life was living according to the teachings that you find in the Bible and the teachings of Christ. If you lived your life according to those, then you'll have eternal life and eternal happiness in heaven or in paradise. Now, Aquinas is usually seen as a clever Christian philosopher rather than as an intelligent one. See, you can have intelligence. Intelligence is maybe if you take the case yesterday, I think it was Srinivas Ramanujan's birthday, and everybody was saying mathematics day. And if you know the history of Srinivasan Ramanujan, he was somebody who uh, did not have proper formal education, but he was a genius when it came to maths. And even today, people are struggling to work out some of the formulae that he has created. That is intelligence. Cleverness is more associated with manipulation. You will say a fox is a clever animal, clever as a fox, because the fox is very, very opportunistic. It knows how to take food away from a predator who has killed the animal. It steals food from the bigger animals like lions. So that's why that is called cleverness. So he's more like a clever philosopher rather than an intelligent one. He wrote at a time when there was a growing discontent uh, or restiveness among the people in the medieval period of Europe. Okay, so he wrote around the 12th, 13th centuries. People were getting tired of this constant debate that was going on, not a debate, some brainwashing that was going on about faith and rationality. All the Christian priests, the clerics, if you want, or the clergy, they said you cannot use rationality in order to understand the world. You should have faith in God. You will have knowledge only if you have faith in God. This is what they said. Okay. Now, traditional Christianity believed that, you know, uh, knowledge could be accumulated by being faithful. And they had this principle which they talked about, which said knowledge of something is only known to the creator of that thing. Okay. So later on, when we come to the nascent scientific method, after Machiavelli, I'll do a small this thing of that. I will tell you how the resolutive compositive method that was used by the Padua University actually paved the way for modern science. And it challenged this idea that if you didn't create something, you cannot know about it, which is what the Christians claimed. They said God created the world. So that is called creationism. Because if you look at the Bible will tell you on the first day, God created so and so. On the second day, God created so and so. The first day is Monday, by the way. Though now we write Sunday as the first day, it is actually Monday which is the first day of the Christian calendar. And after 6 days, it took God 6 days to create the world. Okay. After creating the world for 6 days, he took rest on the seventh day. Seventh day is something which comes, which is also called the Sabbath, the day of the Sabbath, Sabbath. That is Sunday. And God took rest on Sunday after having worked very hard for 6 days in creating the world. Sabbath is actually taking rest. So that is the reason why Sunday is a holiday. If you ever asked yourself, why is Sunday a holiday? I don't know if you've asked yourself this question. If you do, the reason why Sunday is a holiday is because Sunday is the day that God Himself took rest. So we, as His creation, we are also not supposed to work on Saturday, on Sunday. I'm sorry. Okay. And therefore, what happened is that Sunday became a day off. Now, if you're a pious Christian, then on a Sunday, you will devote your time to prayers. Okay, you'll go to the church, you'll pray, and you will only do minimum work like cooking and eating. That's it. And the rest of the day is prayer. That is what the Christians do, the pious ones. Okay, so Sunday is the day of the Sabbath. Even for the Jews, the day of the Sabbath was Sunday. But when Christianity also made Sunday the day of their Sabbath, what the Jews did is they, that is how instead of Monday being the first day, Sunday became the first day, and they moved the day of the Sabbath to Saturday. Okay, so Saturday is the weekend. Otherwise, it was Sunday. And in America, since Jews are very powerful, they are very small in number, but they hold all the big businesses. They have a lot of control on things there. And therefore, they said, why should only the Christians' day of Sabbath be a holiday? We should have a holiday even on the day of the Jewish Sabbath. And that is how in America, the 5-day week came into being. And slowly it also went to Europe. It is also there in India now. All the corporate firms, offices, they, they have 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday. And they added on 1 to 1.5 hours of extra work from Monday to Friday to compensate for the loss of a working day uh, on Saturday. So that is how the 5-day week came. The Muslims also believe in the day of the Sabbath. Their belief is Friday is the day of the Sabbath. Okay. And therefore, if you go to the countries in West Asia, the West Asian Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, all these Islamic countries, the weekly holiday is on Friday. It's only on Friday. They work on Saturday and Sunday. The Hijri calendar, in fact, doesn't have a full week. The original Hijri calendar, it shows only 5 days because for them they follow a month which has only 28 days. Okay, so, but I'm not going to go into that now. Let's leave it at that. Uh, that is why there was one instance when Ramzan came twice in 1 year, once in January and once in December, because it's a 28-day month. Okay, even the Hindu calendar uses 28-day month. It's also lunar, but it also uses the solar calendar and balances the extra days by adding a month, which is called Adhika Mas, or sometimes by removing something, which is called Shunya Mas. Anyway, so that is one of the things that you should remember. Now, what the Christians believed, like the Jews and the Muslims, all these have the same principle, which is if you have faith in God, then God will reveal knowledge through the medium of a prophet. So, what is the medium of a prophet? Okay, if you take Judaism, Moses was their prophet, and their holy books are the Talmud and the Torah, Talmud, Talmud, Tohra, Torah. These are supposed to be the holy books of the uh, Jews. The Christians have the Old Testament and the New Testament. Together they are called the Bible. Okay. So this is again revealed knowledge. And the prophet who revealed this knowledge is Jesus. Jesus' actual name is Jesus of Nazareth. Christ is a Hebrew word which means prophet. He was called Jesus Christ because he was a prophet. Okay, so that is what you have to remember. The Muslims also have a revealed book, which is the Quran. The Quran was revealed apparently to Prophet Muhammad, and Prophet Muhammad claimed that he was the last of the prophets and that all the knowledge that needed to be revealed and that which began with the Talmud and the Torah will end with the Quran. So the Muslims believe in Prophet Muhammad, in Jesus Christ, in Prophet Moses, and there are a couple of other prophets, Prophet Elijah, sometimes also called Elisha. Okay, but the Jews don't believe that Jesus was a prophet. They don't believe Muhammad was a prophet. And therefore, they basically reject these two faiths. The Christians believe in the Jewish prophets. They believe in Jesus Christ, but they do not believe in Prophet Muhammad, because the Christians say that Jesus said, I will come back again, which is, I am the resurrection. So if I'm going to come back again, if that is what uh, was said by Jesus, then these people say that Prophet Muhammad is not Jesus reincarnate. So they don't believe in Islam. Okay. But funnily enough, all these three religions are called Abrahamic religions because they are the creations of the sons of Abraham. Okay. They are the creations of the sons of this man called Abraham. I will tell you the story another day. It'll take a long time if I go away. And technically in the world, there are only three religions. Okay, the Roman thinker Cicero laid down the criteria for what would be called a religion. The first, the word he used in Latin is religare, Religare. Religare, in order to be a religare, you need monotheism, only one God. Okay, no multiplicity of gods and no anthropomorphic gods. Anthropomorphic means those who look like human beings. Okay, today you look at our Hindu deities, they look like human beings, right? So that is not what a religion has. You should not think of Hinduism as a religion. Hinduism does not have any sacred books. Hinduism, including the Bhagavad Gita. And before the Bhagavad Gita, there was another Gita called the Ashtavakra Gita, which was uh, just like Krishna instructed Arjuna, and that became the Bhagavad Gita. Sage Ashtavakra also gave his teachings to Raja Janak or Janaka, the father of Sita. None of these are sacred. People will tell you Vedas are sacred. Vedas are not sacred. Vedas are only those which are uh, describing the geography, describing the cosmos. There's nothing holy about it. There's nothing holy about the Vedas. Okay, even rituals that people perform in what has come to be called Hinduism, these rituals are not found in the Vedas. They are found in two other books which are called Aranyakas. Aranyakas are the rituals prescribed for various occasions. And the other text is Brahmanas. Brahmanas has nothing to do with Brahmins. Brahmanas is nothing but the procedures that you need to follow in performing the rituals that have been prescribed in the Aranyakas. And all these are Homa, which is you worship Agni, fire, you worship water, all these things, but no monotheism. What was, you should call that tradition as the Sanatana Dharma tradition. Hindu is a word that came from Persian. Okay. The land that was originally called Sapta Sindhu, actually, if you look at this thing of Sapta Sindhu, uh, 7 rivers, of which the main river was the Sindhu river. This is Sanskrit. Then around the 6th century BCE, uh, you had a Persian Iranian king called Darius the First. During his time, in the Farsi language or the Parsi language, which is what the English call Persian, there is a description of the Sapta Sindhu as the Hapta Hindu. So the river Sindhu became the river Hindu in Farsi. In Latin, it became Indus, Latin and Latin derived languages. And because it was called Hindu, the people designated those who were living on the other side of that river as Hindus, and the land itself was called Hind. Okay, so Hindu is not a designation that people have given to themselves. Neither is Indus, India. India comes from Indus. People living on what was called the Hind by the Muslims was called India by the Christians, the Europeans. Okay, so this is a cosmology. I have explained that. If you go to my MA lectures, you'll find it. It is a cosmology where the universe itself is seen as the Brahman. The Brahman is the life system. The universe is the life system. But this Abrahamic religions are monotheistic. They don't have anthropomorphic gods. Whereas in India, there is also polytheism. There is also the sacred feminine. We also pray to goddesses. Every village has an Ammavaru. Whereas these 3 religions, they do not believe in the feminine being sacred. They believe it's masculine that is sacred. They are called the Abrahamic religions. If you want to know more, tell me, I'll tell you a little later. So like I said, these are the only 3 religions in the world. What exists before that is not called religion at all. Buddhism is not a religion. It's a philosophical system. It's an organized philosophical system. Jainism is not a religion. It is also an organized philosophical system. Sanatana Dharma tradition is not even properly organized. I'll go into the reasons later if you want to know. Whereas Buddhism and Jainism are properly organized philosophical systems, Sanatana Dharma system has so many different strands. And the technical name for what Hinduism is actually a synecdoche. S-Y-N-E-C, Synek, D-O-C-H-E, Ducky. It's not pronounced Synecdoche, it is pronounced Synecdoche. Okay, and what is a synecdoche? A synecdoche is where you take a part and confuse it for the whole, or you take a whole and confuse it for a part. In the case of India, different parts have been taken and have been confused for the whole. So Hinduism is not an organized system, it's a synecdoche. Please remember that. It's not a religion, it is a philosophical system, but not organized like Buddhism and Jainism. So the Sanatana Dharma tradition should be called a synecdoche. Hinduism was a name given to it by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, and that is not necessarily a wonderful thing that he did. Now, Christianity believed that rationality was a quality that was encouraged by Satan or Lucifer to entice people away from God. Lucifer is a fallen archangel, okay? And Lucifer was supposed to be God's favorite, but because he did not behave himself, God threw him out of heaven and into hell. And the Christians believe that Lucifer is trying to entice people into hell and away from God. Okay, so rationality, they said, if you use your rationality, then you are under the influence of Lucifer. It was, if somebody was found using his rationality, he was punished very severely, and I will tell you about that a little later. In fact, in his book, uh, Discipline and Punish, Michel, M-I-C-H-E-L, Michel Foucault, F-O-U-C-A-U-L-T, it's there in front of people. People were given public punishment if you went against the Bible. You were punished in public. Why? Because if you are punished in public, then people will have fear that they'll also have to undergo that punishment. And punishments were horrible. I'll describe them later to you. And these punishments were designed to give people, uh, to take people uh, back into the fold of God. Okay. And because it is done in public, uh, Foucault calls it the spectacle of the scaffold. Scaffoldings are those you see while construction is happening, you have various rods and all. So people were tied up and punished in different ways. I'll talk about that later. So this was done in order to stop people from thinking rationally. So they said there has only to be one thing, you have to have faith. This resulted in very little original thinking, the kind of great thinking that you found in ancient Greece is absent. And so the medieval period, also called the Middle Ages, is also called the Dark Ages. The medieval period is the Dark Ages because there was no new knowledge, nothing new came. In fact, there are a lot of errors in the Bible about which we'll talk later. The church believed that the Bible was the revelation of the wisdom of God. Okay, it was considered to be the wisdom of God. And if you contradicted it, then you were contradicting God. And therefore, you were punished very severely by the church if you contradicted anything that was written in the Bible or anything that even a priest spoke. If you contradicted a priest, that also invited punishments. All this, when it was going on for centuries, it started a simmering discontent in European society, in Christian society itself. People started questioning what is so wrong about thinking rationally. Why should you say that it is a wrong thing? Now, at this particular juncture, you have the appearance of St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas, like I said, he's a clever man. He's also a very shrewd man. He believed that if this simmering discontent that was there in Christian society was allowed to continue, then he said he thought it would lead to revolt against Christianity itself. So he carried out some changes. He did not refer any longer to rationality as the weapon of Lucifer or Satan. In Urdu and in Arabic, it is shaitan. Okay. So the anglicization of shaitan is Satan. Rationality was no longer seen by St. Thomas Aquinas as a weapon used by Lucifer to draw people away from God. On the contrary, he created an alternative proposition which said that rationality was very much needed in order to understand the wisdom of God. Okay. He said, he asked the Christians, the pastors, the priests to think, how will people understand if they don't have rationality? Understand anything, first of all. Just let's say you don't have rationality. Okay. In psychiatry, there is a disorder called uh, dissociative disorder, okay, or association dislocating disorder. Then you can't speak. You find these people who cannot make these linkages. These people, you find that they will make unconnected sentences. They speak in unconnected sentences. So they are completely incoherent. You can't understand what they are saying. So Aquinas was clever enough to realize that you should not criticize rationality. So he put rationality in the center of things and said that if you do not possess rationality, then you wouldn't understand the wisdom of God. You wouldn't understand the Bible. You wouldn't understand why you are supposed to do what you're supposed to do. So therefore, he brought rationality into the center of Christian discourse. So this is a subterfuge. This is a way of making sure that the rebellion will not happen. That is why people say Aquinas is clever and shrewd. And what he has done as a subterfuge can be seen in the system of law that he created. He said, in order to live peacefully in the world, one has to know the source of laws, or just law. You can use it in plural or singular. Sources, you have to know the source of laws that are followed in human society. See, just imagine if there are no laws in society, then there is no society. Lawlessness is not social existence. Social existence is living as per laws. Okay, so he said one needs to understand where these laws are coming from. Okay, so he, in order to make people believe that they can use their rationality and understand laws, he created a systematized, a system of laws. Okay, or he systematized laws. He classified law into 4 categories. The first one he called eternal law. What is eternal law? It is something like what you find in Sanatana Dharma. Though Dharma is not law, Sanatana is eternal. Okay, the comparison is only with eternal, not with law and not with Dharma. Okay, Dharma is very different from law. Eternal is everlasting. Sanatana is also everlasting. So eternal law is something which lasts forever. What gives eternity to eternal law? Eternity in eternal law is a result of the fact that the world is constituted by God, and it is the wisdom of God which is the source of eternal law. It is the source of eternal law. Because it is the wisdom of God, we are finite. We are born, we die. God doesn't die. God is there always, at least as far as, yeah. What is this I'm getting here? Do you want to say something, Prashant?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I mean, we have one more class now, sir. Today.
just let me finish this off.
Yes, sir.
2 minutes, I'll finish it off.
Yes, sir.
Or do you want me to do it tomorrow?
No, no, sir. Finish it.
No, I'm just trying to see how much more. What time do you have class? 1 o'clock, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you better go. Okay, I don't want to hurry through this. You better go and we'll do this tomorrow. All
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
right. Thank you, Prashant, and sorry. I didn't
Thank you, sir.
realize. I didn't realize.
Mm.
Okay, thank you very much.